Ambassador Marcus Webb had imagined his first Galactic Council session would be intimidating. He hadn't expected it to be humiliating. The council chambers were impressive, a massive dome that seemed to contain its own weather system, with floating platforms for each delegate species arranged in concentric circles. Marcus stood at the petitioner's podium, a lonely human in a sea of alien dignitaries trying to make Earth's case for military partnership status. And in conclusion, Marcus said, wrapping up his rehearsed speech, humanity brings significant tactical experience and defensive capabilities that would benefit the Council's collective security. Commander Vexthor's laugh cut through the chamber like chittering glass. The insectoid warrior's mandibles clacked in amusement. Tactical experience? Your species still uses chemical explosions to propel metal projectiles. We had more sophisticated weapons when we were still in our larval stage. Laughter rippled through the assembly. Scholar Quinn, a bird-like alien whose feathers shimmered with academic pretension, adjusted his vision-enhancing monocle. Indeed. I've reviewed Earth's military history. Quite entertaining, really. All that charging at each other with sharpened metal, then graduating to slightly faster metal. Very linear. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. With respect, Scholar, perhaps you should review more carefully. We have, Chancellor Dren interrupted, his amphibian throat sac inflating with bureaucratic authority. The Security Committee spent almost 3 full minutes examining your application. The consensus was unanimous. He paused for effect. Earth should focus on what it does best, entertaining the galaxy with quaint stories and primitive art. Your species is, and I quote from the official report, the galaxy's least threatening species. The chamber erupted in polite, dismissive laughter. Marcus's hands gripped the podium. You're making a mistake. On the contrary, Vexthor clicked. We're preventing one. Military partnerships require actual military capability. No offense, Ambassador, but you're simply too soft for the realities of galactic conflict. The vote was called. The rejection was unanimous, efficient, and utterly crushing. Marcus gathered his materials with as much dignity as he could salvage and left the chamber to the sound of aliens already moving on to more important matters. 2 weeks later, Marcus was on his 3rd glass of something that tasted like regret and burned like vindication at a space station bar near the council headquarters. You look like someone voted you off the island, a woman's voice said. Marcus glanced up to see Dr. Helena Cross sliding onto the adjacent stool. He recognized her from the human delegation briefings, an archaeologist with a reputation for being brilliant, blunt, and completely uninterested in diplomatic niceties. More like they voted Earth off the Galactic Security Force, Marcus muttered. Apparently we're too primitive to be taken seriously. Helena ordered something amber and strong. Yeah, I heard about that. Idiots. You have no idea. They spent the entire session mocking human warfare like it was a particularly boring history lesson. Well, Helena said, a strange smile playing at her lips. Funny you should mention history lessons. She pulled out a data tablet. Just got back from Kepler 442b. Found something interesting in an abandoned facility there. Marcus squinted at the holographic display she projected. What am I looking at? An archive. Specifically an observation post that monitored Earth for approximately 12,000 years. Someone was watching us, Marcus, documenting everything. Something in Marcus's alcohol-soaked brain sparked. Everything? Everything, including our complete military history in 4D sensory detail. Marcus looked at the artifact image on her tablet, then at his drink, then back at Helena. A terrible, wonderful idea began forming. You thinking what I'm thinking? That depends. Are you thinking we should show this to the council as a massive screw you for rejecting Earth? I was actually thinking cultural exchange presentation, but I like your phrasing better. Helena grinned. I'm in. Getting the artifact into the council chambers was surprisingly easy. The council loved cultural exchanges. It made them feel cosmopolitan. Marcus filed the request under Archaeological Discovery, Earth Historical Context, and within 3 days, he and Helena had a time slot. The aliens barely looked up when they entered. Chancellor Dren was reviewing some document. Vexithor was actively napping. Scholar Quinn gave them a patronizing wave. "Ah, Ambassador Webb," Quinn chirped. "Back for more rejection? Or is this another appeal?" "Just a presentation," Marcus said cheerfully, helping Helena set up the artifact on a pedestal at the chamber's center. "Dr. Cross discovered this ancient archive. We thought the council might find it educational." "How thoughtful," Dren croaked without interest. "Please make it brief. We have important trade disputes to mediate." Helena caught Marcus's eye. He nodded. She activated the device. For a moment nothing happened. Then the entire chamber shimmered, the walls and ceiling dissolving into holographic projection. Environmental controls kicked in. Temperature shifts, atmospheric simulation, even olfactory input. "What in the—" Vexthor jerked awake. The air filled with the sounds of marching feet clashing metal and human voices shouting in languages long dead. The hologram coalesced into a massive Roman legion, thousands of soldiers moving in perfect formation across ancient terrain. "How do we turn this off?" Dren demanded. Helena checked her tablet and winced. "We can't. It's locked into a complete sequence playback. Has to run its course." Marcus tried to look concerned but couldn't quite hide his smile. "How unfortunate." The projection shifted and flowed, centuries blurring past in sensory-rich detail. Mongol hordes swept across continents. Medieval sieges reduced stone fortresses to rubble. Knights in armor charged across muddy fields while arrows blotted out the sun. Scholar Quinn chuckled nervously. "Charming, really. Look at them stabbing each other with pointed metal. Very enthusiastic." But then the data overlays kicked in. Numbers materialized in the air. Casualty counts, army sizes, territorial conquests. The Roman Empire's military. 400,000 soldiers at its peak. Genghis Khan's conquests. 40 million dead. The largest empire in history, carved out in a single lifetime. The 100 Years' War. The 30 Years' War. The endless succession of human conflicts, each one meticulously documented. Quinn's feathers ruffled uncomfortably. Those numbers can't be right. That's more casualties than the Vexthor-Quinn border conflicts." "That was one war," Helena said quietly. "We had hundreds." The projection showed Greek fire engulfing enemy ships, siege engines hurling stones through castle walls, tactical formations that made Vexthor's warrior instinct sit up and take notice despite himself. "That's actually brilliant," the commander muttered, watching a Roman testudo formation advance under arrow fire. The overlapping shields create a mobile fortification while maintaining offensive capability. The presentation accelerated into the age of gunpowder. Cannons reduced medieval fortifications to obsolescence. Musket lines turned battlefields into killing fields. Naval warfare exploded in scale and sophistication. "They fought everywhere," another alien delegate whispered. "Desert, Arctic, jungle, ocean. There's no environment where they didn't wage war." Helena leaned toward Marcus. "I don't think this archive was made by humans." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What?" The projection paused and a new element emerged, an analytical overlay with text in a language that the chamber's universal translators struggled with before resolving. Observation, post-Delta 7 species. Designation, Homo sapiens. Classification, sustained aggressive evolution. Observer race, untranslatable. "So we've been the galaxy's reality TV show this whole time?" Marcus said. "That's not creepy at all." The projection resumed, now showing the age of industry, and the true horror was only beginning. World War I materialized in the council chamber, and the laughter died completely. Trenches stretched across the holographic landscape. Machine guns chattered, reducing advancing humans to heaps of corpses. Artillery turned entire forests into moonscapes. Chemical weapons drifted across no man's land in ghostly yellow clouds. The casualty counter ticked upward. 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 17 million. Several aliens made distressed noises. One delegate actually vomited into a waste receptacle. Before anyone could speak, the projection shifted again. World War II began. Blitzkrieg warfare rolled across Europe. Aircraft carriers commanded oceans. Amphibious invasions hit defended beaches. Entire cities burned. The industrial machinery of warfare operated on a scale that made the Council's most sophisticated conflicts look like skirmishes. Then came the Manhattan Project. The chamber watched in horrified silence as the first nuclear weapon detonated over Hiroshima. The mushroom cloud bloomed in perfect, terrible detail. The data overlay showed temperatures, radiation levels, casualty projections. Then Nagasaki. Then the advancement of nuclear technology during the Cold War. ICBMs in their silos. Nuclear submarines prowling ocean depths. Strategic bombers on constant alert. Enough weapons to sterilize the entire planet several times over. They created weapons of planetary extinction, Chancellor Dren whispered, and then just lived with them? Pointed at each other, Helena confirmed. For decades. We called it mutually assured destruction, MAD for short. Yes, we appreciated the irony. The projection continued into modern warfare, precision-guided munitions, drone strikes controlled from continents away, cyber warfare, special operations forces conducting surgical strikes, weapons that could identify individual targets from orbit. Commander Vexthor's mandibles hung open. Your species developed all of this while you were still confined to a single planet? We got bored easily, Marcus said. The projection displayed current Earth defensive capabilities, satellite networks, missile defense systems, rapid response forces, nuclear arsenals that had been reduced to a mere fraction of Cold War levels. You have how many nuclear weapons? Dren demanded. Oh, we scaled back significantly, Marcus said casually. This is us being responsible. The projection shifted modes, and if the previous sections had been disturbing, this was truly horrifying. Comparative analysis data filled the chamber. Graph after graph showed other galactic civilizations' warfare histories, brief periods of conflict followed by rapid technological advancement and peaceful space exploration. The pattern was nearly universal. Fight for a few centuries, figure out space travel, join the galactic community, and leave the warfare behind. Then there was humanity's graph. A continuous line of conflict stretching back 10,000 years, never stopping, never pausing, warfare and technological advancement rising in perfect parallel. An artificial voice filled the chamber, the archive's AI narrator emotionless and clinical. Subject species exhibits unique trait among observed civilizations. Technological advancement rate is directly proportional to conflict intensity. Unlike typical species pattern of conflict then cooperation, humans demonstrate sustained aggressive evolution with no natural endpoint. New data emerged. Humans had developed writing to track military logistics, mathematics to calculate projectile trajectories, chemistry through attempting to create better explosives, aviation through military requirements, computers through code breaking and weapons calculations, space technology through ballistic missile programs. This can't be right, Scholar Quinn protested weakly. You're so friendly, you tell jokes. You create beautiful art and music. Yeah, Marcus said, his tone gentle now. We do that between the wars. It's called coping. The projection showed human philosophy, art, and literature, all deeply influenced by warfare. The Iliad, all quiet on the Western Front. Guernica, War and Peace. Countless songs and poems and paintings born from conflict. Helena added, we teach our children about war starting from age 5 or 6. 12 years of history classes and probably half of it is various wars. We memorize the dates like multiplication tables. The archive's clinical voice continued. Human linguistic patterns confirm warfare centrality. Metaphors derived from combat permeate all cultural contexts. Fighting for justice, battling disease, struggling with problems, conquering challenges. Warfare framework underlies human cognitive architecture. More data. Human games were often warfare simulations. Sports used military terminology. Business was described in combat metaphors. Even human courtship rituals employed strategic thinking borrowed from military doctrine. The final analysis appeared in stark, glowing text. Conclusion: species shows no signs of conflict reduction despite technological advancement. Recommend observation distance of minimum 50 light-years. Potential threat level: extreme if provoked. The projection ended. The lights returned to normal. The council chamber was completely silent except for the hum of environmental systems and the ragged breathing of traumatized alien delegates. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The weight of 10,000 years of human violence hung in the air like a physical presence. Finally, Chancellor Dren cleared his throat. His throat sac had deflated to a fraction of its normal size. Perhaps we were hasty in our initial assessment of Earth's application. Marcus stood slowly, straightening his tie. Perhaps. Your species possesses significant tactical experience, Commander Vexthor admitted, his mandibles clicking nervously. Disturbingly innovative tactical doctrine. The integration of combined arms warfare, the evolution of strategic theory, the psychological operations component, it's all remarkably sophisticated. Scholar Quinn spoke quietly, his previous pompousness completely absent. Your military history makes our interspecies war look like a territorial dispute. The Council's worst conflict resulted in approximately 200,000 casualties over 5 years. You lost more than that in single battles. Multiple times. Marcus let the silence stretch. Then, so about that military partnership application. The vote was immediate and unanimous. Not just approved, upgraded. Tier 2 strategic alliance status, Dren announced, his voice still shaky. Immediate effect. Plus preferential trade agreements, technology exchange programs, and a council seat with security veto power. Suddenly everyone wanted to be humanity's friend. Defense treaties were proposed. Trade deals were suggested. Multiple delegates requested private meetings. Vexthor approached Marcus cautiously. Ambassador, would humanity consider, that is, would human military advisors be willing to teach at our military academy? We could offer excellent compensation. Marcus played it cool, though internally he was doing victory laps. We'll certainly consider it, Commander. Helena asked the question that had been nagging at her. Who created that archive? And why were they watching us so carefully? Marcus shrugged. Does it matter? We just went from the galaxy's joke to the galaxy's slightly terrifying new friend. Slightly? Helena raised an eyebrow. I'm being generous. They left the council chambers an hour later, after signing preliminary agreements and accepting nervous congratulations. The corridors that had felt so imposing 2 weeks ago now seemed different. Aliens gave them a wide berth. Conversations stopped as they passed. Respectful nods replaced dismissive glances. Think they'll ever stop being scared of us? Marcus asked as they walked. Helena considered this. Marcus, we just showed them 10,000 years of humans finding increasingly creative ways to kill each other, culminating in weapons that could crack planets. We demonstrated that we invented most of our technology specifically to win wars. And we proved that we did all of this while confined to a single world, fighting amongst ourselves. She paused. We should be grateful they're only slightly terrified. Marcus grinned. Fair point. Drinks? You're buying. Consider it payment for the most satisfying diplomatic victory in human history. As they headed toward the bar, Marcus couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. That ancient archive, whoever created it, had given humanity something precious. Context. The galaxy had looked at humans and seen primitive warmongers playing with crude weapons. They hadn't understood the scale, the continuity, the sheer relentless persistence of human conflict. Now they understood. And understanding, Marcus thought, was the first step to respect, even if that respect came with a healthy dose of fear. You know what the best part is? Marcus said as they entered the bar. We didn't even have to lie or exaggerate, we just showed them who we actually are. Terrifying thought, Helena replied. Yeah. Marcus raised his glass. To humanity. The galaxy wasn't ready for us, but here's the thing. We weren't asking for permission. We were just being polite. They clinked glasses. two humans in a galaxy that had just realized it had severely underestimated Earth. Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, and somewhere in the vast darkness, perhaps another ancient race was watching, documenting, and wondering what humanity would do next. The answer, as always, was simple: whatever it took to survive. That's what humans did best.